What's going on YouTube? I am Chaseontwowheels, this is Brian, and welcome to another episode of Wrecked Bike Rebuild Garage. Now, you guys are probably like, Chase, Brian, it looks slightly different. You would be kind of right because this is totally different. We are in our new shop, and this is the first video that we've shot here. We are going to film a full episode of Wrecked Bike Rebuild here in the shop for the first time. Can we get a clap for the shop? Thank you, Luke. Literally the only other, thank you. Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna grab the other camera and we'll do some intros of what we're gonna be doing today. Woohoo! Despite all the coolness of being here in the shop, oh my gosh, the space. I can just walk around. We are back on our CBR 600. If you guys are confused, yes, CBR 300, 600, and 1000 that we are working on. Things get confusing, so I make sure to say what bike we're working on in each episode. It has been 2 months since we've touched this motor. We have been getting a ton of Revzilla packages. If you guys don't remember, Revzilla is our supplier of OEM stuff. So clutch, springs, alternator is here.
Just covers,
engine covers. Anything OEM, they're coming from Revzilla. So packages been showing up this whole time that we've been building this shop. And luckily, all the stuff that we need for the job that we're gonna do today has come in, so we're able to really knock some stuff out. Brian, take us through what our goals are for this episode, and then we'll show everybody all the parts that came in.
Okay, we got our replacement clutch hub from our last video that was worn beyond reusing.
Right, and we can show that whenever we open it up.
So we got our new hub, we got all of our fibers, steels, springs, the thrust washers. This is really a one-time use nut, so we're going to replace that as well. That's all the stuff that we need for our clutch. This is the push rod for our new clutch cover. We also have our oil pump and oil pressure regulator for the engine, new oil pickup, all new O-rings for that, and then inside this other little box here is our generator cover, which is this side of the engine. It's slightly damaged, so we're going to replace that one as well. So right now we have all the parts on the table to reinstall the clutch, replace the cover, install the oil pump, pressure regulator, oil pickup screen, then we can put the oil pan back on, and then we also have the alternator cover to swap out as well. So we are to the point where we're not going to have to touch the engine much after this. We still need to replace the valve cover gasket and the rest of the O-rings and stuff that are in the cylinder head from when we did our valve adjustment. Once we get all these new covers and seals and everything in, we'll cap off all the holes in the engine and we'll give it a really, really good cleaning before it goes back in the frame.
Cool. So we got a lot of jobs to do today. What is the first thing you want to start with?
I think we'll start with the clutch.
Kind of finish that up from the last episode?
Pretty much. You know, it's in there like in pieces behind this cover. So let's get this squared away, completed. I'm saying that out loud, but I may prove myself wrong in the order in which we need to do things. But let's get the cover off, the clutch basket out of it, take a really good look at what's going on and what we have on the table and decide the order from that point.
Cool. Let's do it. Okay, so you have the clutch side over here. How long can you last?
I could go a while, actually.
Brian, clutch is apart. Give us a explanation now that we can see. Guys, it's been so long since we've filmed. I forgot how terrible that this little hub was. Look at the ribbing, and just for comparison's sake, that's brand new. Oh my gosh. All right, so Brian, what do we got here?
So this is our new hub. Obviously the old one, where the springs have worn through each one of these posts obviously is not good, so we're going to replace our hub. We're also going to replace all of the hardware here. We're going to use our old basket. It's still in good shape. There's no issues with it. All this stuff really should be replaced every now and again. Your lock nut needs to be replaced every time. And then your thrust washers, if you're going to go through taking your clutch apart and removing all of the fibers and steels, all the stuff that wears together, these thrust washers kind of wear as well. They absorb a whole lot of heat. You can score them eventually, and then they start to flake and come apart and cause all kinds of problems. But your thrust washers need to be replaced every now and again as well. Make sure you inspect your pressure plate, and then I always do the throwout bearing as well. It's inexpensive.
What's the throwout bearing?
So the throwout bearing is this. This is the new one. We already put the new one in.
Right.
Okay, so this sits in your pressure plate, and when you pull your clutch lever, it acts on this pin, and when it's pulled out, this whole thing rotates on that bearing. You know, it takes a lot of abuse as well. Think of how much time you spend at a traffic light with your clutch pulled in. All the rotation of the engine is spinning on this little bearing.
So when somebody's looking, because you said inspect the pressure plate, what is
So what are
somebody
we looking for?
for?
Our pressure plate is in fantastic shape. So it's kind of hard to tell you what to look for because there's nothing on it. But what you would be looking for is along this edge or this face, you would look for either scoring or discoloration or any grooves in it. Also in these notches, you want to look to make sure that they are all complete. There's no nicks taken out of them. And if you could see, I don't know if you could actually see it on this, but right here along this edge, you almost see that almost looks like little dashes.
Yes.
So that's where the end of these clutch discs rest on the inside here. And after a lot of use, sometimes they'll make little grooves that can do that on this as well. So you're looking for the same type of wear on this as you would be looking in your basket, as well as the same type of wear you'd be looking at your steel plates in your clutch pack. So that's our clutch assembly, basket, hub, pressure plate, all the hardware that goes inside as well. We're going to be reinstalling. I do believe from here it's going to be significantly easier to install the oil pump drive gear without the clutch in it. So we're gonna do the oil pump first.
Is that something you can show us why it's easier to go ahead and do that?
If you want to come around this side, I can show you from here. It's pretty obvious. I don't think I can get it from that side, but so this is the oil pump chain. It is driven by this gear. This gear is driven by the back of the clutch basket. And then this is the oil pump gear that gets driven by this down here at the bottom. Can you see that?
Oh, okay. So without the basket in, we
can get to
free reign to...
Now this thing, it just spins.
Right.
So it might be easier to put the basket in and then lock the basket in place and then take this bolt off.
Okay.
You got to figure out what order these things need to be done in to make it easy for you.
Right.
I could put something in here and lock off, but then I'm putting pressure on the engine case. And this is not real thick right here. So if this thing is on there really good, which it should be on there with like some sort of heavy duty Loctite. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the oil pump first. We're gonna get everything set, and then we're not gonna torque it until we get the clutch basket back in again.
Okay.
Because it will just have better access from here for now. First thing I gotta do is take off the oil pump gear.
All right, so installation of oil pump.
So while this thing is apart like this, I could inspect half of the transmission.
What are you doing to inspect the transmission?
So I can look at the dogs and the engagement spots in the trans gears.
Pause real quick. Why is a dog in the engine?
So the gear has like a little tab of metal that sticks out the side.
Okay.
That fits into the next gear that doesn't have a tab, but it just has a hole.
Okay.
So those little tabs that stick out are called dogs.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at the edges of the dogs to see if any of the edges have been chipped off.
Right.
And also the edge of the slot where the dog engages in the gear next to it to see if those engagement edges have been damaged.
Okay.
So we can inspect the transmission and see what kind of shape it's in from here and not have to take the whole engine apart. One thing you really never want to do with an oil pump is put it in completely dry. So even though I'm going to put oil in it,
Brian, that's what she said.
right. Even though I'm going to put oil in it and it's pretty much going to pour right back out again,
Right.
I want to lubricate the inside of the pump so it's not running totally dry.
So we're also going to have to, somebody asked this on one of the comments of the other videos, are we going to soak the friction plates for the clutch?
Absolutely. That's what this quart of oil right here is for. We'll use that oil.
Yeah, we'll get into
absolutely.
why. But do we have a bucket that we plan on? Yeah. All right, so just because I would ask this if I was watching this video, we're working on a Honda engine and we're using
putting Yamaha oil in it. So there's probably something like a half a dozen chemical manufacturers in the world. They all get their oil from roughly the same place.
Dinosaurs?
They have different, well, these are synthetic, so there's really no dinosaur in this. It's fake liquid dinosaur, yes, but everybody has kind of their own proprietary mix. It's not like if this Honda is gonna seize because it's running on Yamaha oil. Okay. This is a good quality, full synthetic oil.
Okay, cool.
Regardless of who makes it, what's in the bottle is good stuff.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the flow of oil just by how it's laid out here. So this really, really big opening is for the pickup screen for this part. So the oil pickup hangs off of here and draws the oil up from the oil pan. It comes out of this pipe and connects to this one, I believe. We have the pipes over there somewhere. I think that, or this is the pressure regulator. I think this is the feed pipe, this is the pressure regulator. Comes through, this is where the oil filter goes on. So it comes through, gets fed down through here, through the oil filter, squishes through the filter, gets sent sideways through the oil coolers, which bolts on the front of here. And then after it feeds through the oil cooler, it comes up through this pipe and then whoop, up into the engine and gets dispersed after it's been cooled.
That's pretty cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can see all the, you basically have all the Mario tubes cut in half.
Yep,
so
all the pipes opened up and seen where they're going, yeah.
Cool. Tell us what you got and why.
Okay, so we have the oil pump in. I'm going to torque the bolts to, what was the spec, 9 foot-pounds? 9 foot-pounds for the 3 bolts that hold this on, and then the 1 bolt that holds the oil pump sprocket onto the end of the oil pump is 11 foot-pounds. We're going to torque all that stuff up. Then we're going to install our pipes and pressure regulator. This is the old stuff. We have new O-rings for the pipes and a new pressure regulator. Then we're going to put the pickup on, then we're going to put the oil pan on, and then we're going to turn this thing sideways and get back working on the clutch. So if you can see this little tab on here, can you see that? Right here, this little tab? So that little tab fits in this little tab in the engine to make sure that it's located correctly. Nice. So it doesn't rub on the inside of the oil pan.
And that's the oil screen, right?
This is the oil pickup screen, yes.
Using Scotch-Brite just to remove the old gasket?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then if we have some, do we have any contact cleaner? If not, some rubbing alcohol will work. Some acetone will work. All right, so the oil pan, the oil pump, pressure regulator, pickup screen, all the pipes, all the new O-rings, everything is installed. The oil pan is on and torqued with fresh sealant on the mating surfaces. Now we can go and move forward with the installation of the clutch.
Cool.
Cool.
So what do we gotta do to get the clutch installed?
Take the basket back out and then start installing everything correctly.
Cool.
So we're moving on to the clutch side now. I'm just going to clean up the mating surfaces while there's no oil dripping everywhere. The reason why there will be oil dripping everywhere is because we are going to soak our clutch fibers in the same engine oil that we're going to run in the engine cases later. It is important that you use the same oil to soak your plates as what you're going to use in the engine later. You can't do mineral grade oil on your clutch plates and synthetic oil in the engine cases. They won't mix and you'll have clutch issues from day one. So whatever oil you run inside the engine case is what you soak your clutch plates in. These are all of our clutch plates. I have them stacked according to the order that they go in. So this is the first plate that goes in and this is the last plate that goes in on the bottom. So just to make it easier for my installation, I lay all that stuff out ahead of time and I don't have to think about which plate I'm putting in while I'm grabbing them out of this oily bin. So you just want to cover them. May need to bring this down just a little bit, or we'll just spread them a little bit. You want to keep them fully submerged. If you don't keep them submerged, you're not going to get good penetration into the cork. If there's a piece that's sticking up in the air, that piece will never get oil on it and you'll have a dry spot and that'll cause a premature failure.
And the thing that you're soaking are the little cork pieces on the actual plate.
Yep,
it's not
it's the
metal's going to absorb the oil.
Exactly. So this is going to come over here. So that's all the air that's getting squeezed out of all of this stuff.
Oh, so that oil is going into the cork material, and then the air, it's basically replacing the air with oil.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, that's exactly what it's doing. So before we do all that, I do want to dress this a little bit. And what I mean by dressing it is cleaning up any sharp edges that I don't want. I was mentioning earlier that this has some wear on it. It's not terribly bad, where you can see these little tiny groove marks on the edge here where it looks like the fingers were resting on the edge. I like to knock most of that stuff off if I can. We should take a break and go get some parts cleaner.
Cool, well, let's do that. We'll take a break. Oh God.
Try that again.
You didn't know I did that?
So I'm going to explain that one because you probably could not see what it is that I was just doing. All right, so this is the oil pump drive gear, or the oil pump gear. The drive gear fits into the back of the clutch basket. Okay. So to make sure that those two are lined up, you slide the, I'll just do it again, it's kind of a pain, but. All right, so you slide your basket in, you get it real close to where it looks lined up in the center. You get the teeth engaged in the gear behind it, and then you can just grab the gear on the oil pump and turn it until it seats.
So you're like opening up the...
You're turning it until it lines up and boop, and it drops on.
Are all clutches like that, or
No.
just this one?
Nope, this one in particular, there are others that are like this, but not all of them. The reason why I'm making a point of this is because you don't line those two up and you drive all this stuff together like a lot of people like to do with an impact, you will destroy your clutch basket. Make sure that it is fully seated to the back where it's supposed to be.
Regardless of the machine.
Regardless of how it's supposed to be set up, you have to make sure that it's fully seated before any hardware goes on.
And before, especially before you touch it with an impact.
I mean, you really shouldn't be putting this on with an impact anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So you really shouldn't be putting anything on a motorcycle on with an impact. Off is okay. In some cases, you don't even want to take that stuff off with an impact.
Oh.
But you definitely don't want to be putting stuff on with an impact. This bushing in here One side, it has a set of grooves on it, and on the other side, it's smooth. These oil grooves actually oil the clutch pack, right? You see that groove in the bottom of that? Mm-hmm. Now, inside that groove, let me find it real quick. I don't know if you can see it from there, but there is a hole in that groove.
Right.
So oil comes up around the outside of this through that little hole and then through that little channel and then up through the top through these little grooves. This is actually part of the oiling system. If you install it incorrectly, you don't get proper oil flow to what's supposed to be there.
And that would be like the clutch plates and stuff?
It's probably oiling. Yeah, it's going to be the back of the pack. This whole bearing is pretty much what it's oiling. It's re-oiling this bearing.
Oh, okay.
You have to pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why it's important to put stuff on exactly how you took it off.
Right.
And hopefully the person that took it off and put it on before you put it on the right way too. That's why buying used stuff is so
dangerous.
It's like kind of
chancy.
Chancy, yeah. You take a big chance sometimes. Installed the basket and the hub and all the thrust washers and a new center hub bearing and put the spacer back in and torqued the center nut and staked it, and now is all the fibers and steels, the judder springs, the pressure plate, the throw-out bearing, the clutch control arm, and new cover.
So we got a lot left going on in the clutch. Cool.
Does that mean we're ready to full send on the clutch install?
If Luke's good, I'm good.
Okay.
Right.
Where's this one? Seat, judder spring. Seat goes in first, and the seat is for the spring, and you want the outside edge away from you, or towards you, away from the clutch when you put it in. Okay. And then we start with our fibers. We have that first fiber that goes in that's slightly smaller than the rest, so it rests over the seat and judder spring.
This is where it comes in clutch for you to have everything laid out, correct?
Mm-hmm. So when you put your steel plates in, you'll see if you look at both sides of it, there's a sharp side and a dull side.
Okay.
Okay. So I always put the sharp side facing towards me.
Is that what you're supposed to do, or that's what you like?
That's what it'll tell you in the manual.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then you alternate fiber, steel, till you get to the end of your pack.
And just so everybody's clear, we've let these things soak for like a long ass time.
They've been in there for what, at least half an hour.
Yeah. Brian, you did it.
Sure you want to do that?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was kind of you.
That was very kind of Brian. Very oddly kind.
It was one of those angles where I probably could have done some real damage.
Yeah, I need to learn not to offer you a straight arm high five. Okay, so brand new cover, brand new plates.
So
Clutch is fully good to go.
we got the hub bearing, the hub, fibers, steels, springs, and a new cover.
Yep.
And a new cover.
Yes, this is not permanent because we still need to get into that, obviously.
That's just on there. And then we also got new support washers, thrust washer. This is a sprung washer and a new lock nut. All that stuff we replaced as well.
So real quick, Brian, I remember a comment from probably the previous episode of the clutch stuff. Mm-hmm. People were saying, why are we not going with an aftermarket clutch? And I know me and you had a conversation about that off camera, but I wanted us to kind of brief on it.
I have never ever seen an aftermarket clutch last as long as a factory clutch.
Right, because remember, guys, this is going to be a race bike, but it's also a street bike.
I mean, this is a 2008.
Yep.
This is a 2008. So don't kid yourself in thinking that this is some super up to date. I'm going to go racing and win races race bike. This is a track day bike.
To be fair, it's a super sport, which is already a good track day bike.
Right. I mean, you're not gonna take a bike that's got 45,000 miles on it and try and make it a competitive race machine. Yeah. But for a track day bike, it's a perfect machine to do it on.
That's the thought process. So we would rather somebody have the longevity of a stock clutch, stock OEM, and everything.
If you're going to do an aftermarket clutch, I mean, I guess you could do one because they make them a bit lighter.
Right.
They make baskets lighter, the pressure plates are different, but the clutch material itself isn't much better than what you're going to get in something like this. And like you said, this isn't some I'm a dream racer race bike that you're going to go out on the track and win races your first day out or anything like that.
The level of
it's just going to be it'll be fun and competitive. You'll hang with everybody else, you know.
If you have the
skill to do it, it'll be a capable machine, but it is no 150 horsepower, 600 that's gonna blaze up the track for anything like that, But it'll be a good time for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so clutch is now finally done. Woo woo. What is our next move? I know we need to replace the alternator cover, but what could the people look forward to on the next episode of Wrecked Bike Rebuild Garage?
So we need to get this engine finished off. I mean, we're at the point right now where, we went through the clutch, we did the valves, we're going to replace the engine cover, we replaced the oil pump, pickup, all that stuff inside. Now it really needs to be cleaned. And I think that's really going to be our next step is once we get the other engine cover on, we can set this thing up, seal off any holes that go internally into the engine and go ahead and probably take one of these little containers, dunk some of the parts washer in it and bring it out here and set this thing inside of like an oil drain pan and just brush it off.
I can't wait to see. So on the next episode, I want to make sure we take a photo before and a photo after because that is
especially
be the
this side.
Yeah, this engine is disgusting.
This side is the side that the front wheel kicks up all the road debris at.
Especially at 40,000 miles.
It's got,
got a little baby dinosaur in there.
I could probably count on one hand how many people I've met over the years that clean the side of their engine. Yeah. Everybody cleans the covers on the right side and the left side. You can see all that stuff, but for somebody to get to that's a whole lot of work involved. So
cool. So guys, if you are interested in more episodes of this build, we separate them out into playlists. So if you guys are just curious about the 600, a playlist link will be in the description. You can check out all the 600 videos. Don't forget, we also have a 300 and a 1000. So we are giving away a ton of motorcycles this season on Wrecked Bike Rebuild Garage, and we wouldn't be able to do it without Patreon. I forgot to say that in the beginning, I think. I got too caught up with the shop. I'll film something else to go with that. But anyways, guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. That is Brian. These guys are team behind, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of Wrecked Bike Rebuild Garage. Thanks for watching to this point. Make sure to hit the video like button and subscribe. That was the wrong text and words, but I'm going to leave it because I'm done. Okay. See you guys in the next one. Bye. Outro crew. What is your favorite sandwich shop? Is it chain? No one-offs. Has to be a chain. What is your favorite chain sub shop or sandwich shop? We'll go sandwich shop. Let us know in the comments down below. Do not forget.
And we need sandwiches. We don't want anybody up there bringing on like Five Guys or any of that shit.
Burgers. We want sandwiches.
We want sandwiches.
Ooh. We're in a new shop. And by shop, I mean not my garage. What are you laughing at?
You stopped on shop and just like sat and I was like, oh, is that it?